All right.
That's it. I'm out of here.
I'm out. It's being recorded now. No, bin, you know what? I just think about it today. You know what I love the most about the bin trucks?
What's that?
Like my whole life, I've been driving around Durham region going, fucking people getting all these jobs, and why didn't I get these jobs? And I should have got, like just in your head, right? Like
I've
why
always
can't
thought
I-
that. I've always
why-
I've
why-
always been.
well, I get a
Well,
piece of,
yeah.
I get a piece of every fucking job now. Like all these people call me, and I might only get 2 bins out of it, but I'm like, yeah, whatever. I got something.
Yeah,
I
and you
found a
probably
way
have
to-
the best part of each job because you don't have to meet the client, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to sign the papers. You just send the bin, pick it up, and then send the bill.
And I found a way to get a piece of every job in Durham region almost. Like, well, whatever. There's always going to be jobs. But I mean, I was like, man, I've expanded the network to get more. Because I was like, why did they hire that guy? Not me.
Well, that's the way to do it. But are you do you guys have like a Tomlinson and stuff out that way? Like
Yeah.
these big, you do? Are they not like just monsters?
They don't do bins.
Oh, they're all
So,
over bins down here.
Yeah, so like where we are, there's like where I am, there's Arntz, the landscape supplier, they do bins. I do bins, and then there's one other guy that does bins basically to contractors, like landscape contractors.
Hmm.
And there's only really the 3 of us. So Arntz is always going to have lots of bin business because they're huge and they exist. But then there's a certain faction of people that, and this isn't a dash to them at all, but like the company is so big that when you call their dispatch, they're like, yeah, we'll bring a bin in the morning.
Yeah. Sometime in the morning.
Whereas if a bunch of people were calling me this morning and texting me out of the blue, like not out of the blue, but like they're like, oh, and Cody can say like, I'll be there at 10 o'clock. Because a lot of the bin clients deal direct with Cody, or they deal with me. Like, and same with Christy, like with the triaxles. Like it's just a bit more, like some people, it's a bit more personal. And I think there's some people who like that. And then the other guy that does bins in our area, he's same kind of thing as us. He has 20-yard bins. His bins are a bit bigger, so some people like him better because his bins are 20-yard bins. I know him, but I don't. We ended up on the same jobs twice in the last 2 weeks with both of us putting bins down, and because people just needed to get things done fast, and he couldn't keep up, and I couldn't keep up, so we just like whatever. He's a good guy. Like I know, but there's none of the big pits are into that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I mean, I guess there's more bin people too, but like in terms of like the landscape clientele, there's 3 probably.
Now, are your clients like overfilling these bins often? Like, how's your trucks lifting up a 20-yard bin? That's a heavy bin.
Yeah.
So my bins are all 14.
Okay.
I have 14s and 10s because I wouldn't, for me personally, I wouldn't put 20s out because they're just so big and so heavy. And I've heard about guys peeling the front right off the bin with the hook.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. Like, I think we're gonna get like, it's so hard to get a truck right now. Someone was saying that Mack is 2 years out.
Holy shit.
A guy who has a Mack hook truck, and I want to get a triaxle hook truck, and I'm gonna get a 20, but just as a dump body. And then if something happens with one of the triaxles, we can put the dump body on it, and you could use it. But I wouldn't put it out and put it on the ground because it's like we were doing a pool with the guy who has the 20s, and like the clay and the clay that was going to the 14s. I was like, man, like this is crazy. It was the bottom of a clay, like pure wet clay pool, and then they filled the 20 up on the ground afterwards. And I was like, I wasn't there.
Can't even lift that.
Yeah, it's like that can't be. And I think the 14, the odd person says something, and then I'm like, well, then take a triaxle. Like,
yeah.
Like you can put 20 in a triaxle if you know what you're doing. You know how to load it right. So
yeah.
I have 4 on the road every day. I'll send you one. Like, I think the 14s are probably. I want to get a triaxle truck that's bigger, but then I want to still only use the 14s, so the truck's probably bigger than what it needs for the bins. So you're on the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did the whole thing last week about people putting shit in the bins, and
yeah, that was good. I like that.
That was great.
our our hook lift used to be a triaxle. Now it's a tandem because I don't want to spend the 30 grand on spiffing it, right? So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we're just gonna run it shitty this year, and then if it works out, we'll spice it up over the winter and
Yeah.
make it pretty and stuff. But
I like
I
it. Like today, I floated a skid steer down to a job in a bin.
yeah,
So I just like backed it in the bin and then strapped it
yeah,
down. Like it's pretty
yeah.
comfortable. And you can. I don't know. There's some things I love about the hook trucks, and some things that I like. They're super complex. When they start to like fuck up, like, it's like our mobile mechanic Brad Waite, like he knew shit about hook trucks when we got the first one. The guy's like an expert now because our shit,
Now he's a pro.
our stuff breaks out constantly. Everything we own.
I don't know if I don't have the stomach for shit breaking down all the time. Like things already break down all the time, and they're all new. So how am I gonna do with all this old shit breaking down on hook trucks?
It doesn't. It used to. It used to drive me nuts, like when stuff broke down, and now I'm like, honestly, I'm like, whatever. Like it doesn't phase me any. Like I used to. It used to be like a crazy emergency. Like I could fuck. Now I'm like, whatever. Call Brad. Or there's this like at our shop. There's this old dude who like welds, and so like when I met him, I was like, yo, bro, I just ripped the tarp off my truck on a tree, and he re-welded it, and then I ripped the tarp off on the hook the next day, and he re-welded it. And then I don't know, he smashed something else, and then someone smashed the stairs on the side of my truck, and he ripped them off and bent them straight. And then the float fenders were like this on one of the floats, and the guy's like just around all the time. He kind of they do like restoration of trucks at our yard, so he's just there. I'm like, bro, like you got a whole side business here, just fixing our like
That's what I need a guy like that at my yard who just camps out and waits for broken shit to show up.
guys like he amazes me with all the stuff he can do, and then I'm like, man, when like this guy passed away, like no one's gonna know how to do all the stuff he like. Just you watch him, and he's so good, and I'm like, just people just don't do that kind of stuff anymore. They just because my immediate reaction when the tarp got ripped off the truck was, fuck it, how do we buy a new one?
Yeah.
Like it never even occurred to me that you could bend it back and fix it and re-weld. I was just like, how the hell do we get a new one? How long does it take? Where do we order it? And he was like, well, I'll just bend it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I'll cut it and make it better, and now it works better. And he's like, because he's a fabricator, right? I'm like, oh, all right. Well, that was way faster and cheaper than buying a new one until I ripped it off the truck again. And then it became more expensive than a new one because I fucking destroyed it twice in 1 week. But
See, I've got an old guy who used to work for us that if you have something that's broken, he'll take it and spend hours trying to make it work, and then it doesn't work, then you're so pissed off that you have to buy a new one.
well, I haven't had that experience yet. But now that I think we're going to start refurbishing all the lines on our hook trucks too, because I think that like
Yeah.
the 2006, one's a 2009, so we're going to start
Yeah.
redoing all the hydraulic lines slowly and just
Yeah.
doing some real like we do a lot of like sort of general maintenance, but
Yeah.
you know most of the machines we have are all fairly new. I bought them all brand new, so they're all within 3 or 4 years old. So, and we have one brand new triaxle, which can be as painful as the older triaxle we have because
Yeah, I've heard that. But
well, like you go to send it in and they're like I've paid Brad to fix shit on a brand new truck because it's cheaper. Because the box got put on it in Guelph, right? So there was some problem with the PTO pump. They're like, yeah, bring it out here. And I'm like, okay, well that's like $300 in diesel plus I got to pay someone. And then
Yeah.
what if we're not done? What are they staying overnight in Guelph? Like, so I said to Brad, like, how much is it to fix that? He's like, I don't know, like $400, and then I fix it. So I'm
Fix
like,
it here.
paying
Yeah.
to fix the brand new truck because I'm like, it's in the end, it's gonna be cheaper than
Yeah.
these guys to do it under warranty. Like, I'm like, fuck it, whatever. So there's a bunch of stuff that's happened with that truck like that where it's like I don't know if I'd buy a new one again because I don't send them back to the dealer because they vaporize from your life for a week at a time.
Yeah.
You're left with like, okay, well, like every day the truck sits, I lost the invoiceable time for that truck or
Yeah.
any like, piece of equipment. Not that you have any equipment that's sitting around right now that I noticed. Is that
No, well, I have a
looking to do?
machine that's sitting on a job site from since last Friday. It shit the bed on the site, won't turn. We could have finished that job, been out of there, floated home, check in the mail that day, but the next day I had to send the loader out with three guys to clean up all the shit that didn't get cleaned up the day before, and then call the dealer, say, hey, what's up with this machine? Send someone out. They're like, oh, we can't get it there this week. We'll have someone there early next week. Monday turns into Wednesday. Um, all of a sudden, oh yeah, your machine's fucked. I'm like, it has 150 hours on it. Like, this is warranty issue. Like, oh well, we don't we don't pay for warranty, doesn't cover a service call. It'll pay for parts. I'm like, so what's the point of the warranty? Like, I can't even move the thing. I can't even float it. I have to take my loader and scoop it up like a fucking baby and put it on the trailer and then drive it to the dealer and scoop it off and put it in your shop for you to warranty it. Like, just beside myself, pissed off at these guys. But yeah, that's my experience with new machines.
I don't know that there's a perfect solution. Like I
No.
don't, I just don't like. If you have old stuff, having old stuff, the only thing I would say is having old stuff that you owe money on, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
I
you have
agree.
old stuff, at least own one shit. Like don't have old stuff.
Like if you financed a 2008 Bobcat skid steer or something like that at fucking
Yeah,
6% and you paid 35 grand for it or something like that. Like, yeah, that sucks because you know it's gonna break. And
and you're gonna have to. So we budget when we're doing budgets. We budget 30 grand a year for truck and repairs.
yeah,
That's where we're at with the big trucks, right? So, my theory on it is realistically, I we own those three trucks. I would rather pay Brad than pay Wells Fargo.
yeah,
But I'm going to pay someone. Like
Yeah.
the brand new truck is financed through Scotiabank, so Scotiabank's getting, I think it's like 4K a month for that truck. So okay, so Scotiabank's getting 4K a month for that truck. Well, like at 30 G's a year, and unless something goes horribly wrong with the tires, we're usually under 30 G's a year. I would still rather give the money to fucking Brad to do whatever he wants with than I would to give it to Scotiabank. Like,
yeah,
so I think maybe that when I came to that realization, I stopped caring about when stuff breaks. Like, they can't really do anything. Like, it's broken. Like, whatever.
yeah,
Fucking sucks. Like, when we had, like, 2 years ago, I was like lying in bed with Kelly, and I was like, our entire residential business is like based off this guy's like 2007 S70 that's poorly maintained. Like, this is kind of fucked up. Like,
yeah,
we need to address that situation. And he was like, yeah, we probably should. Yeah. And then the next day, the guy just suddenly like blew up. And this was like before the pandemic, right? So I just called the Bobcat dealer and I was like, bring us an S70 right now. And
yeah,
they're like, okay, because they know that like our finance is good. So I was like, just bring it now, right now. And he said, okay. So he came and dropped it off and we started working. And that's how we ended up with the S70 because it was like, this is insanity that our whole business is based off this guy's like poorly maintained 2000 like so. It's a, but now when stuff breaks, like whatever, like we can't. It's how do we find the solution to this issue? Like,
Right.
what are we gonna do? It's like the one day I was like staring at the pasture with no horses in it because the horse lady was crazy, so she got banned from the yard. And I was staring at the empty pasture, and they're like, I'm like, man, today was a pretty good day. Like, things went well. Like, it was a good day. And then I was like, oh, wait, like, Cody's truck got towed from, like, Taunton and Dixon. So that's, like, the main intersection. So 7,000 people fucking DM me about it. And, and then Christy's truck caught on fire on Highway 7, like, one of the brakes, because it wasn't set or seated right or whatever. Like, and I'm like, this is what qualifies as a pretty good day to
day.
like I was like, fuck yeah. Like when stuff breaks now, I don't, just like, how do we fix it? Or how do we get another one? Or like, what do we, like, even,
Yeah,
I was talking today and our, in the middle of the winter, a homeowner messaged me and said, "Hey, do we really need this wall?" And I was like, "I don't know. I didn't design this backyard. I just bid it off a drawing." So I emailed the designer and said, "Hey, do we really need this wall?" And she emailed me back and said, "I used the zip level, which I know everyone loves those things. I think they're fucking garbage. I wouldn't pay $1. If someone gave it to me, I would bash it with a baseball bat before I would bring it on a job site." And she's like, "I shot it with the zip level. We don't need the wall. It's decorative. It's just a decorative wall." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And this is like no winter. There's like 10 feet of snow in the backyard. So I was like, "Cool." And then we went to start the job. I walked in the backyard. I'm like, "Yeah, we totally needed that fucking wall. Like, it's going to support the whole pool building." Like, I'm like, "What's the plan?" And they're like, "Well, I guess we'll have to build a wall." And I'm like, "Okay, well, like, you can't really go back on the homeowner." Like, she specifically asked, "Do we need the wall?" And I said, "No." Like, so I'm like, "Well, I guess I'm eating $7,000 on this." So I like literally ate the 7K on this wall.
Ouch.
Oh, like what? Like, I can't go. Okay, I'm
Right.
sure there are people who will argue with me that I should have gone to the homeowner, but it's just not. It's not me as a person.
Yeah. No,
Same
I,
here. I'm the
yeah.
exact same way. If
I've
it
eaten-
falls on a professional decision, I eat that all day. Like that's up to me, especially if the homeowner asked in your situation. It's just a tough thing to eat, right?
Yeah, it's like, but again, I was like, how do we? I didn't get mad. I was like, how do we fix this? Can we just move on? Like, because if I dwell on it, I have no chance of making any money on anything because I'm just spending my whole life dwelling on, you know, some inane problem. I'm like, okay, like let's just build the wall, build the wall. It is what it is. Do we have enough material here? Because God, if we're short material, this problem just got way worse. Like, like if there is this wall doesn't exist now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Not doing it. I mean, before like you needed 7 bundles of something. Who gave a shit?
Yeah.
Now we're doing some natural stone stairs, and this is another same. Yeah, there was 4 stairs on the drawing, but really we need 6. And I get it. Like I should have measured it myself, and no one stopped me from going to the house, and so it's whatever. That's my problem. But I'm like, I'm more cared now about like I'm like, do these stairs exist? Are they in China on a boat, or like where the fuck are they? Like that's like, do we have them? Because otherwise we're screwed. Like we can't finish the job. Or I'm like driving to every supplier on the planet trying to fish because it's some weird color. But they had 2 of them, so we were fine. But it was like my biggest concern wasn't fuck these stairs are $700 each and I gotta buy 2 more. My biggest concern was where are they? How do we get them?
Yeah.
Such a different world than it used to be.
For now.
For now.
Yeah.
For now.
I think that's gonna turn around.
Yeah.
When do you think it's going to turn around? I was actually talking to someone about that today, mostly equipment related, with how much delays we're seeing with equipment. Like how's
used equipment for sale in 6 months.
yeah,
Yep.
like this is going to
Yep.
turn around like a snap of your fingers, because the amount of people that I've talked to or I've heard that have gone ahead and signed a contract for a piece of equipment, but multiple different, dealers or brands, just because they can, and they're just waiting for the first one to come in.
Yeah.
So the amount of cancellations that are going to come in like immediately, and how quickly this is going to turn around if we do experience a decline in the amount of used equipment that will also hit the market at the same time. And used being only probably like a year old, because those are the companies that are going to be, underwater because they got in too deep too early. That's what I think, at least.
Yeah.
And there'll be a fuck ton of dump trailers, 5-10 dump trailers.
Oh yeah.
5-ton dump trailers in 2012, 3/4 ton trucks. Yeah. I don't know. I'll happily buy a 2-year-old shovel or something like that, knowing that the company went tits up. Like, yeah, send them my way. If you want to get out now, I'll buy your shovel at half price. Great. If you had the curve, I'll take it now.
I think potentially the bigger opportunity is finding a lot of these people that went out on their own, and it was easy. It's been easy to get work for the last 2-3 years, right? Like 2 years at least, easy to get work. Like we used to talk a lot about how do you get leads, where do you do your marketing, what do you like? No one gives a rat's ass about that now because
Yeah.
I think the biggest opportunity coming is that all these people, when the going gets hard to find work, they're going to be like, I don't want to do this no more. And then you're going to have an opportunity to hire a large amount of people who understand what it takes to run a business. And oftentimes the most successful foreman is someone who ran their own business and understands that you have to do this to make money and you have to do that. And so I think there's going to be some opportunity there with people who just, were probably working for someone else before and then went out on their own and then found out, oh yeah, you can't sell $75,000 pools all day long in a recession. Or even when times are good, you don't, sell 10 pools in a day. Like it just doesn't happen. And I think that there's going to be a bunch of those kind of people that, maybe like you just said, like you look at some guy and he's a really good worker and he's in a bit over his head and he's got a 1-ton dump truck, a MT100 and a E20. And you look at the guy and you're like, I'll take all your shit and you and sign it to your contract with me.
Yep. That's the dream, right? I guess that's how the big guys get bigger, or so I've heard, is in tough times, right? They've got the cash flow and everything to just float them through, and they just absorb all these little guys, which I think that's a dream for someone like us. But I definitely don't want anyone to go broke in order for that to happen, right?
I don't think. I agree. I don't want anyone to go broke, but I think that some people they may not be broke, but it's just not going to be easy.
Yeah.
There's just I'm sure you guys have done this too, where like you hustled to sell a job. We worked hard to sell a job. I'm lazy as shit now. I priced 4 jobs on Sunday, sent them to Kelly, and she put them in a contract and emailed them. Like I never email. If I spend the time to quote something, I go and meet them at their house and I get their signature on paper.
Holy shit. I've never done that in my life. I've never met with a client to close a job ever.
I quote that if I was serious about it and that was something I really wanted, then I've emailed someone about like sodding their front lawn or shit like that. But if it was like a big project that I really wanted, something that I thought was really lucrative or was a great design or whatever, I'll go sit down and get them to sign the paper in front of me. But now, I'm admittedly lazy as ass. I'm I quoted 4 jobs and Kelly put them in the contract that we have and we emailed them to a bunch of people. I was like, oh, did anyone email us back? Do I fucking care? Whatever. Something will come up, someone will call. And one of them, people immediately emailed back and said, yeah, go ahead. And the other one's like, can you separate a couple items, which is fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm lazy as fuck now. I used to be good at it. I used to pride myself on knowing my sales cycle and how long from the day I met some. I used to time it. I met you on Tuesday. I'm going to close this job by 2 Wednesdays from now. We'll get it designed by Thursday. We'll get it priced. We'll send it. We'll have our final meeting. We'll deal with any deflections or problems, and then we'll sign. I had a whole sales cycle down, and now
Right.
now it's basically me ignoring Kelly's emails until she's really pissed off, and then quoting something.
You had a
That-
fire lit under you. Holy shit. I've never in my life, I'm the worst salesman. I don't know how I succeeded in business. I'll meet with you, schmooze you, all this. We'll talk your job, go home, write the estimate, fire away the email. If I never hear from you again, fine. If you want to do it, let's go. That's it. Wow.
But if that's what works for you, there's not that's
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it's everyone you have to have your own sales style. That was just I started doing it. I was selling jobs in 2007 too, right? And it was can I fix your step for $500 and I got to come here twice to sell this job? It was like that. So I guess it was a habit but now I'm I'll just send this. I don't know if I will. I think maybe I'll go back the other way. It depends. If I see something comes across my desk I really want, I still break down and spend a lot of time on it because maybe it's a cool job or it's in a great. But for me now, it's more about location.
Yeah.
I care more about where the job is. I know someone called me dig a pool in North York. It's 2 hours from us. Yeah. I literally called the guy because he's a good guy. And I was like, bro, I don't fucking want to go to North York. I want to go to Bayview Avenue. I'm good. And
Oh, jeez.
he's like, I don't want to use someone else. I know you guys. I know you do the job. I know you show up on time. And he goes, I love Cody. And I was like, all right, so it's going to cost a fortune for these bins. He's like, whatever. I don't care. Just charge me whatever it costs. I want you guys to be the ones to, because I can trust you, and I don't want this to get worse for me than it is. I was like, okay, but now it's more about, I think, trying to. What does Caleb say? Own your zip code. I'm owning my zip code. He says something.
Right. If we do hit a market downtrend, what do you guys think that means for our industry? Just trying to think this through in terms of like, if a recession does come and they're calling for it to be longer than average, what does that mean for our industry that has experienced such high demand for 2 years that it was so hard to fulfill? Does that demand kind of spill over through the recession, and people from like the beginning of all of this happening, where we hit all this demand, where they've been saving and saving and saving, and then they're finally ready to pull the trigger, they can't find a contractor, they're still saving money through all of this, and then a recession hits, and then finally it frees up time for these contractors to fulfill that demand. Does that demand continue to spill over through this recession, and we don't experience less demand through this recession, maybe till like the later part of the recession? That's kind of my thought process. I'm curious as to what you guys think about that.
I think if you I've talked to our guys about it, and our women, everyone's nervous, and I'm like, we do a high quality work, doesn't matter. People, and I would guess that 80% of our clientele, they're paying cash for the work we're doing. And that's how I really would, if you're looking at your residential clientele and 80% of them are putting it on a credit line, that's not a good clientele to have right now.
Yep.
And I would say that 80% of our clientele, these are people who are paying cash for it. These are people who are financially stable. These are people who, and that client and that client base doesn't dry up no matter what the financial times are. That client base will always have money. So I think if you're looking around and you're saying like 75% of the clients are putting this on their credit line, your people who are putting it on their credit line are passing your name to other people that are going to put it on their credit line. That's true. So it's going to
Which is, I guess it's fine. Put it on your credit line, whatever, as long as I'm getting paid at the end, right? As long as that credit limit doesn't run out before I get my share.
Well, the problem being though that those people aren't going to have those big credit
Yeah, there'll be less money
now. Where someone who's paying cash, I've seen the jobs you're doing.
Yeah.
Most of those jobs I'm going to guess are people who have that money.
Yeah, I'd assume so, right? Or the big commercial ones where I don't know if they have money because we haven't gotten paid yet. But
that's that market you're good for no matter what happens.
Yeah, I don't think they stop. I mean, cities are always stimulus jobs and all this stuff, right?
That's it. I was talking about the dump truck. We have one dump truck that runs gravel, right? And I was like, well, if there's a recession, I'll send all the dump trucks to run gravel. Someone was like, what do you mean? Who's going to be buying gravel? I said, well, the way that they get out of a recession is they stimulate infrastructure.
Yeah.
And you don't build anything without gravel. I don't care what the fuck you're building. You need gravel. You need gravel to make cement. You need gravel to you need gravel for everything. So I'm like during a recession, gravel trucks are going to roll. Period. And the goofy guys that work for nothing are going to be broke. So they'll all be gone. The demand will be high. I don't know. I'm not. Our business model, I'm not worried about it. There's guys I see that take 7 days to dig a fucking pool. That guy's not going to survive when he can't sell that pool for 120 grand and it's only worth 60. He can take 7 days to dig that pool because he sold it for 120 grand. But when the market dries up a bit and the price comes back to reality and the pools again when they were $65,000 or $70,000, you can't take 7 days to dig the pool. You can't. It just won't work. It won't, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's you have to just look at your client base and who you're looking for. And if you do good quality work, you're going to work no matter what. And if you're willing to crawl through the sewer to get into the castle, then it doesn't matter. Yeah.
That's it. I love that.
Why are you so busy? And I'm like, well, I'll crawl through the sewer every day of the week. I don't care. No one's ever opened the doors to the castle and put down the drawbridge and invited me in to anything in my life. Not one time.
So the king came through the sewer to own the
I
castle.
crawled up to the sewer and went to the floor and was like, hey, I'm here now. And then everyone's like, how the fuck did that guy get 4 trucks? Where the hell did he come from? I'm like, yeah, I work for 6 different clients every day to keep them busy, and we hustle hard and we work hard to make our clients happy, and we do all kinds of, like, Cody was picking up things at 7:30 at night today. Like, it's, like, we're doing all those things. We're crawling through the sewer every day to get into the castle. And like a lot of people right now, someone opened the drawbridge and they wrote it in the carriage. They took the pumpkin right in the middle. Like, it's
in my city, they just blame it on drug dealing. They say if you grew a business from nothing, and because obviously they can't see your struggle, right? They're like, oh, that guy must sell drugs or something like that, right? All of a sudden he's got 5. And I live in a border town, and there's cigarette smuggling and all this stuff around me. And I mean, there are a lot of people with money who got it from drugs and cigarettes and alcohol and all this stuff. But if you're a hardworking person, I mean, they sort of cast doubt on you.
Especially when you're all tatted up like that.
Yeah. I don't make it easy on myself, that's for sure.
I think that, like, Mike, your business is different from our businesses because you do a lot of rentals, right?
I do exclusively rental. So that comes like from a business perspective, but also personal, just because my wife and we did relocate to Toronto fairly recently, and we don't quite know where we're going to settle. And since I established myself in Kitchener for so many years, working there for a supplier and then starting my own business, all of my network is in Kitchener. So I still do probably about 70%, 80% of my work in Kitchener. And I am slowly starting to transfer work closer to me. But then not knowing where we're going to settle, I don't know exactly where I want to start moving, more and more work towards me. So I don't want to be hauling around a trailer and a piece of equipment everywhere I go. So that's, like, I'd say a main reason why I exclusively rent. Also because I hate maintenance. I don't maintain anything that I have well. And business because access. We deal with like all types of limited to access. So I can get the exact piece of equipment that I want on every single job without having to purchase a piece of equipment and being stuck with that, or purchasing multiple pieces of equipment.
Can you always get things when you need it though? Like if you need a half ton or a 1.5 ton shovel, can you get it day of? Like no problem?
Not day of. So I do have to like coordinate that fairly well. But I'd say 3/4 of the time I deliver and have it picked up. Like I don't want to be driving around going to get stuff. So like that's already coordinated beforehand.
You have more foresight than I do. I couldn't.
It's not something that I'm good at, and it's something that I've had to improve to be able to do this.
Yeah, I find it interesting. I've never been involved in it. I've probably shoveled and rowboat a lot harder in my life than I should have over renting something, because whenever I started, it just wasn't part of the vernacular. You did not rent things. You found another way to do it with the stuff you had. And the flip side of that, I think that there's lots of times where you rent something and you would finish the job twice as fast and make way more money over, like, I think that it's just a different mindset, and it's but I think now I would be more open to renting something. I don't know if I would ever run the business the same way you would. I don't know if I could. Like, I think it would always make me, I don't know. I think it's brave to run your business that way, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's more so out of necessity though. Like when I weigh everything, like I'd love to own a piece of equipment, but if I weigh everything, the business side of me wants to own a piece of equipment, but like the personal aspects of where I am personally in life, it just like it absolutely doesn't make sense for me to own a piece of equipment. Just because of like we could move literally in a few months to like the other side of town or to like anywhere really. And uh and then that if that's like where we establish our roots, that's where I'm going to be really focusing on getting work to. And I don't want to have to be wheeling around a piece of equipment everywhere. And so I'd say like that's the main reason why I wanted to stay mobile as much as I can right now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you like, you know, I spend a lot of money storing shit.
Mm-hmm. So
Like,
I don't have it like a yard. Yeah.
Yeah, well, but I'm being like dead straight. Like I spent,
Yeah.
I was talking about sitting at the yard yesterday with Brad, who was fixing something that was broken. And it's, you know, what's the funniest thing? And not to get off topic, but like, if Brad is coming, like he drove into the yard, and just as he drove into the yard, Cody's truck stopped and it wouldn't go down. Like, and no one knows. I'm like, really? And it happens so frequently. Like he shows up and something breaks. He's showing up to fix something that's broken, and he shows up and something else immediately breaks while he's standing there. And I'm like, man, how often does this happen to you? And he's like, constantly. He's like, I go somewhere to fix something and something else, like it just, anyways, to get up. Anyway, we were talking about the overhead cost, like lost in the whole rent, not rent, like just now I'm thinking about it, like, man, like I spent a lot of money storing my shit.
Drawing off of that, so that's why I was so quiet at the beginning of this when you guys are talking about things breaking down. Like I don't experience that as often as you guys do, but going off what you're saying there with overhead and everything, and this is what I recommend anybody do, is to price yourself as a business that you want to be the next step up, or like a year out or 2 years out, whatever that might be. So I'm still including in my overhead expenses rent for like renting from another contractor's yard. So I've already got that built into my pricing, so that when I do, which will be like almost at like a snap of a finger, I'll need to do that. It's already priced into my projects. I'm still pricing like I'm that business essentially. I'm still pricing, even if I don't need to rent a piece of equipment, I'm still pricing as if I own a piece of equipment and I'm going to need to churn that piece of equipment over. So I still do incorporate all of that into all of my overhead expenses, into everything that I price my jobs as, because that's the company that I want to be tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great plan. I like that. The company I want to be tomorrow. My problem is I never have a plan. I wish I did. I wish I was like, people are like, man, starting that bin business was so smart. And I'm like, yeah, like my biggest client was like, get a bin truck. And then one of my good friends was like, hey, I'm selling this bin truck. And I was like, oh, maybe we should just buy that. And like, it wasn't a plan. I didn't wake up one day and go, fuck yeah, I'm gonna get in the bin business, man. Can't wait to get some bins. I was like it just, you know, our buddy was selling a truck, and my one client was like, I really want this truck. And I was like, okay. And then we bought it, and I was like, oh, this thing's probably going to sit around. And then out of the blue on Instagram, like Cody DM'd me and said, are you looking for a driver? Like, it's like, I was like, yeah, sure, okay. And then she showed up, and then I was like, oh, fuck, I guess I better get some bins because I got to keep her busy. And now we need to find some people. Like, it wasn't like, I wish I was better at like doing that, like sitting down and making up, because I don't have a plan. Like, the first triaxle we bought, Christy didn't have a fucking job, and she's having trouble getting work. And I was like, fuck it, we'll just buy this truck and we'll figure it out after. And again, my one big client and one of my good friends is like, I'll use trucks as much as I can. It's like, okay, well, I have at least two people that are gonna like be fair with us. And then, really our biggest pool client, he called me the next spring and was like, hey, like my current guy won't go up to, I don't know, it was like, I don't know, like 2 hours away. I was like, we'll go anywhere, anytime. And we've been doing working with him for almost this is our third season with him. Like it just, but again, it wasn't like I didn't wake up and be like, "Fuck, we should get in the trucking business." I wish my original plan was one person working alone, maybe with my buddy, and that was it. Just sort of like I could do enough work to, do enough small front walkways to make a decent living for myself and have like, maybe an old dump truck, pickup truck, and get a machine. So if I'm old, the first thing I bought was an E20 because I was like, I'm absolutely not digging anymore. I have shoveled enough shovel. Like I'm a hell of a shoveler. Like, I just don't want to do it anymore. I wish I had that kind of foresight. I don't know. Like I just don't have that kind of foresight. Like something happens and then I just roll with it, and then I end up somewhere that I didn't ever think I would be. I guess it's like
Yeah, I don't want to come across like I've got this foresight though. There's definitely things that like I don't plan, and out of necessity, I'd say that these things happen to me in terms of like what I'm going to do. And it more so in my mind makes sense to go one route as opposed to another, and not actually like foresee that that's where I'm going to be and to make that conscious decision. Because there's definitely yeah, if you talk to my wife, she wouldn't say that I've got the organization skills to be able to accomplish what I've done so far.
oh, sure if you talk to any of our wives.
Here's a question for you guys. I always feel like I'm not. Well, I'm always making money, but I always feel like someone else is making money, easier than I am all the time. Do you guys feel like it's easier to make money now in your careers than it was 5 years ago? Or like, is it still hard every day? Like, I feel like it's harder than it should be every day to make money.
So Joseph that owns Sitescape, I've had some deep conversations about. He genuinely feels, and I don't disagree with him, and we've had deep conversations, that the hardest way on the planet to earn a living is to own a commercial landscape company.
Yes.
He feels that deeply because you get involved in so much shit that has like electronic fencing, craning shit up onto roof. Like I don't know if you guys saw this week, but like Cody was like getting super sacks plucked out of the back of a truck, like, crane up to like some tower in Toronto. Like he genuinely believes that, and I don't disagree with him. Like when like the amount of stuff that people expect you to, and you can almost transfer that onto just being a landscaper in general. I don't think there's a harder way on the planet to make a living. I don't. Like you need to know about everything. It's physically exhausting. It's fucking hot out, or it's freezing cold, or like you go and dump something, you blow a tire. Like you can't train people. Like, if you're a roofer and I think it's a tough job, but you train people to do shingles, and there's a few different pitches of roofs and different styles, but at the end of the day, they're like doing shingles, right? Like they're overlap. I don't know how to do shingles, so I'm not minimizing it. I think it's a skill, but like, they don't have like one day you're laying like Techo Block Blue 60, and the next day you're laying Unilog Quartzstone, and there's different ways to put the sand in, and sand goes to here on this, and sand goes to there on that, and you're trying to water this sand one way and wash this down a different way, and like all that stuff doesn't like I don't think that happens. Like I think we've normalized it as people, like as a community, we've normalized that obscure level of knowledge that a general laborer has to have. Like, you can't have wrinkles in the geotextile. It's got to be smooth and taut right to the corners and up for like it just that's 3/4 clear, and this is HPB, and that's A gravel, and this is recycled concrete, and like it just like the amount of crazy like this is mortar, this is how stiff the mortar has to be. Like you think about like just the general knowledge that's a Wagelia. Like really, on top of all this other shit, I gotta know what a fucking Wagelia is, or Bloodgood Japanese maple. Like it just I honestly don't think like if I'll put it up against anything anyone's doing.
Yeah, I was actually today speaking with a landscaping consultant that has owned and operated a landscaping business for years, and they have this matrix worked out, and I wish I would have been able to pinpoint all the different aspects. But essentially, they say that landscaping is the most difficult industry to operate a business in because of all these different factors, whether it be labor, work site conditions, or just job conditions, and all these different factors. And then they had like all these different industries across the top, and how that kind of weighed up against it, with like owning a restaurant would be kind of close but still easier than landscaping, and restaurants have such a high turnover rate and all these different jobs, but landscaping is the single most difficult. They swear by it. So it's interesting that you bring that up. Chad, do you say that as like looking outside the industry, there's people making money easier than you, or people like in the industry landscaping wise that you think are making money easier than you?
I don't think any landscaper specifically is making money easier than we are, but I see and I have no clue what someone's overhead is like, or what someone's debt load is like. But I just feel like every day I wake up and it's hard to make our however many $1,000, right? And sometimes I think, oh, this guy's got a nice civil construction company. I'll go take a piece of that, and maybe we can make it just as easy without having to get a phone call about my sand didn't set right or something like that, or I don't like the curve of this walkway or something like that.
All my sod is dead, so I have to invest 50 grand in a
Nice.
water truck I'm going to use 3 months of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly, right? Like we got to have this expensive water truck to water sod that the client doesn't want to pay for because they don't think that sod, a water truck is worth $100 an hour, right?
The amount of like phone calls I have this like, so I drive my daughter to soccer every single night, 6 nights a week. And we have this sort of bizarre relationship because my phone rings from, like, I think I got my first text at 4:30 this morning. Is it too late to order a bin? I'm like, yeah, it's too early. Fuck this. It's not too late. I'm like, yeah, no, it wants to be today at some point, but it ain't happening at 6 a.m. But I sometimes, like, Hazy will say to me, like, people call you about everything. It doesn't matter what it is. And I'm like, I know. It's just part of being a landscaper. Like, it's like, I need to know, I need to know, like, how to register trucks and
Yep.
the weights are, and like, like, that's all stuff that, like, I mean, I need to know what the hell I'm going to do with my people in the winter. Like, it's already July. And
Right.
like, what are my people going to do in the winter? Because I want to keep them and I want to see them flourish and I want to see them have successful lives. And I don't want to plow snow. And so I'm like, what the hell are these people going to do? And like, I don't think if I own a can factory that I'm worried about what the hell the people are doing in fucking January. I think they're still making cans. Like, I don't like, it's even on that, like, you have to have, if you are heavy into snow, and I'm obviously friends with guys that are like heavy snow operators, you got to have 2 sets of equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The shit, like, we bought one of those Toro buggies, and it's awesome. Like, yeah, maybe we get Toro to sponsor this fucking episode. It's a great tool. It's been fantastic for us. I fucking love you, Toro. You're the best. But like, I'm looking at this buggy going, okay, well, like, the fuck am I doing with this thing in January?
Yeah.
Wait until the spring and hoping no mice get in it. Like,
Right.
that's like literally, and I'm like, it's totally useless to me. And then I'm staring across because we have a few snow things, not a lot, but I'm looking at the, like, you know, the $5,000 plow for this $595 going, well, the fuck am I doing with that since April when I put it there and now the weeds are going around it? Like, it just, there's so much, like, it's a whole new set. And then people are like, I can't get insurance, man. I can't insure my
Right.
business. Like, what other business is worried about getting insurance? Like,
Right.
I know tons of people in other trades, and there is no talk about, like, I'm a plumber.
Especially a necessary business like snow plowing, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a necessity.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Has a framer ever come up to him and like, man, I gotta shut my business down. I can't get any insurance, bro. Like I can't frame houses anymore, man. I got like 100 G's invested in equipment and I can't frame a house anymore because I can't get it insured. That is not a problem for other people.
Right.
Like, it's crazy. It's the whole thing is, but I think it just becomes a normalized thing. Like if you're in the business and like, it's one of those things. If you don't love it, you can't do it, man. Like,
Yeah. I did snow plowing for one season and I vowed to never ever touch that ever again. And everything that I've done online or whatever is just to mitigate me never ever having to do snow plowing.
See, I like the act of going out in the middle of the night with a coffee and my music and getting in a plow truck and just working. Like, I love it. I think it's great. You're like the only person in the universe. It's for the most part easy work, but to run it and have all that liability is completely the opposite of that, right? It's not peaceful. It's not relaxing. It's straight up chaotic, and that part I don't miss of snow.
are you not doing snow this year?
Um,
Have you
undecided.
Did
We're
you do it
meeting.
last year?
I do it last year? Yeah. Wait. Yeah, I think we did it. Yeah, last year was our last like full client list. This year we may or may not work for one client under their umbrella insurance, which is huge, just insane huge. So we basically rent out our equipment and our guys for that client only, and which would ideally take a lot of the headache and the headache out of the work, but we'll see. It's to be determined if that's going to go through or not.
I think you're going to find that scenario a lot where people are going to have to insure their own properties. I think
Yeah.
that's where the industry's going to go. That's just, I don't know a lot about snow, but just from talking to guys who do it, like they're tired of insuring someone else's fucking mini mall. Even when they
Yeah.
do the job right and they do the work right and everything goes right, it's like a
Yeah.
fucking,
I've had clients come up to me before and I'll say, listen, I can't do a Tim Hortons because insurance specifically said, well, you can't do a Tim Hortons. And they'll say like a 24-hour Tim Hortons, not a chance in hell. Like it's going to cost you 200 grand for one Tim Hortons or something like that. And the client will say, well, what if you come under our insurance? I'm like, well, it doesn't really work that way right now. Yeah, there's still a lot of wrinkles, I think, in the legality of things right now.
yeah, I know that like, so there's a guy who has salters that slide on the bin trucks, and he wanted to take our 2 trucks for the winter to salt, just spread salt, right? And I was like, I don't know, I'll call the insurance company. Like, I don't really like to commit the trucks to things
Yeah.
for the whole winter either, but I was like, we'll investigate this. I'd like to look at it. And they were like, we don't have a big problem with, because I'm like, I'm just spreading the salt. Like my name isn't on any contracts. It's not any, I just want you to know I'm doing it, because if I happen to back into a light pole at 2:00 in the morning, like, I don't want you saying, what were you doing there? Like, but I'm not insuring it. I'm just literally just spreading the salt. And they were like, yeah, we don't actually have a big problem with this, but you cannot do it at large malls. Any kind of large mall. And I was like, fair game. Where do you think that someone wants to send a 12 or 14-yard salter on the back of a bin to like fucking McDonald's? Like, I'm like, it's only going to large malls. It's going from one large mall to another large mall. Like, and they're like, well, you can't go there. And I was like, okay, well, this.
I'm out. Yeah.
I'm not putting my company at risk to spread salt at 3:30. And the other thing is, everyone romanticizes, like, I don't know, people romanticize it, and then when it actually comes time to do it, it always ends up being me doing whatever. Like, I don't know. It's back to the whole, is this a hard business? I think this conversation definitely tells you it's like this is just like, what are you doing with your people in the winter? I don't know. It's like, what do you think? It's fun. It's like,
yeah,
it's a hard,
That's true.
It's a hard thing to determine. It's what do you, I think it is the hardest way. I agree with Joe, specifically commercially. Commercially is like a shit show. It takes forever to get paid. You get involved with all kinds of stuff that doesn't have anything to do with you, because you need it done in order to do your work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then-
we've done civil work that we shouldn't have had to have done because it pushes up or gets us to the next step. Or we've eaten shit that civil should have dealt with, so that we'll lose half a day's work to gain the next day's work or something like that. Just finishing off something they should have been doing.
I sent a picture last year to Joe because we were like putting in hydro vaults on this project. And I sent him this picture and I'm like, landscaping, setting a fucking hydro vault.
Yeah.
It's but people expect like it even like I found that recently, like so we've been trying to like do like I don't want to carry some irrigation guy's number. Like I don't have any interest in it. Like I don't for whatever $400 I might make off this irrigation system, I want nothing to do. So we just deleted it off. Like, hey, you want irrigation? Call it. But I've discovered that like a lot of these people expect us to do everything for them for free. Like, hey, can you run on my conduit? No, I'm good, bro. You want conduit?
Yeah.
Come put it in. I don't give a shit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if you have to tear the wall down to get your fucking sprinkler head in next week. Like, it's not my fucking problem, man. I'm not getting paid. Like, I think that there's just like, but because you're there and you're the landscaper, you're like, oh, well, can you run the electrical conduit and put in this water line and can you dig this trench? And I'm like,
Can you facilitate all the other trades while you're here?
yeah, can you dig the trench for the gas? And it specifically says I don't want anything to do with gas. Well, I know,
Yeah.
but now we need this trench dug and you're here. Okay, I still don't want anything to do with it. Like, or this is these timber structure people that put up these fancy pergolas, like not the guys that are physically designed, but like the companies that sell them. You know, they sell them pre-made kits. Timber, I think they're timber dude. These motherfuckers are like, we don't put in the footings. And so the clients are like, I don't want anything to do with it. The client's like, we're getting this timber kit. I'm like, great, I don't care. Tell them to come build it, and I'll landscape around it. I want them to do with it. They're like, oh, well, they said you would put the footings in. That's fun, great. I don't want anything to do with these shitty footings. I can't charge enough to, like, we did one, and the footings were 24-inch sonotubes for this, like, fucking 10 by 10 thing. But they're engineered, 24-inch. And I'm like, what? I've been digging this hole with the Mini. We have guys climbing through the tubes. And I'm like, I can't charge enough for this, and you won't pay me enough to do it because normally, if I was getting the whole structure, I would hide the ludicrous cost of $2,000 a footing in the whole job. Like it would become part of our whole deal, right? And people they wouldn't realize they're paying. But like I'm literally looking at this guy going, "Yeah, bro, these footings are worth like 2 G's each. So you give me like $8,000 for these 4 footings." And then that's crazy talk. And I'm like, "Well, I don't want to do it. Get someone else to do it. I don't give a fuck. Like I don't want anything to do with your stupid footings because if the footings are off center or they're not level or they're not exactly right, everyone's going to be like, hey man, you fucked up this footing. Now you got to pull this 24-inch footing out of the ground. I'm like, again, I don't want the cement you used didn't harden fast enough, and now the top cons won't go in. And I'm like, again, I don't want anything to do with it. Like, but I need to put this footing in, or my job can't move. We just did 4 footings for some stupid timber kit on the job that guys are on now. I'm like, again, like
you forgot to mention that. You forgot to mention the inspector has to come out and inspect the footing before you put the sonotube on it to pour it. So it's going to take you another 2 days for the guy to come out before you can finish the job.
He doesn't like it.
And he doesn't like it. That's it.
I want sweet fuck all to do with this. It has nothing to do with me. Like I don't do footings. I don't build timber kits. I don't. But it's one of those things where you get, and your client assumes that you know how to do it. Like, well, it's outside.
Because you do know how to do it. We all know how to do it. We just don't want to do it.
Okay.
We shouldn't have to do it.
Okay, so there's a hard truth. I do know how to do it. So the client is right.
You do know how to do it. You've been doing this long enough. We all know how to do this stuff. So we can do it. We just don't get paid what we should.
In the late 2000s, 2007, 2008, my business was front walkways and 300 square foot peanut shaped patios with 2 stairs. Every job. Because that's what people wanted back then. And at the time, there was some guys that were expanding into like outdoor living and bubbling water, like all this shit that we do. And at that time, I was like, man, I really want to be those guys. I want to be those guys. I want to build these structures. I want to do these beautiful outdoor spaces. I want to do swimming pools. And now like, I'm 50. I'm like, where the fuck are the peanut shaped patios? How do I get more of those with 2 stairs? Because the guys go in, like, I went to look at the next job the guys are doing this week. And I kind of lost, got a lot going on. I lost track of it sounds ridiculous, but I lost track of it. And so I drive to this house and I get out. And I thought, okay, we got to take the roof off the exterior. I remember that, walking back in. I'm like, oh shit, this is a 300 square foot patio. This is just a square box. This is like my dream.
Yep.
There's no shitty footings. There's no complicated curves. There's not even a border.
There's no grill island with the pizza oven and gas lines for 4 different features.
No drip tray that you forgot about. So I cut the fucking island apart again. Redo the. I got some stories this year about barbecue tops. Like I have spent a small fortune on barbecue tops this year. I spent a bad run of luck with barbecue tops. Like, I had this barbecue top, and the client moved the fridge over, and the installer said, not from Apex was doing the job. He said, when you do that, you're going to lose the overhang because the fridge is so deep. So you're not going to have your breakfast bar overhang. And the client was like, okay, that's cool, until she saw it and there was no overhang. I was like, okay, well, I got to sell this. That was a big job, a huge job. Yeah, well, let's just go find a bigger barbecue top. So we found one. And then when they were taking off the other pieces to get the new big piece on, those pieces broke. Like, no one's fault. I was like, fucking hell. So we bought another. So I called the spice. Do you have any broken barbecue tops? Because I only need a third of the freaking thing. Like, yep, we have one. So we bought a third of a broken barbecue top, put it on. When she gave us the barbecue, because I was like, I'm not supplying this barbecue. Like, I'm not going to Napoleon. I'm not picking it. I want shit to do with it. So she gave us the barbecue. She didn't give us a drip tray, which is an honest mistake. Like, I didn't know there was a drip tray. That was like one big unit. So then the barbecue got elevated. So the other barbecue top, they had notched around the thing because that's how it sat before the drip tray was in. Well, now you don't need that notch. There's a good hole in the top. I was like, okay, well, let's buy another barbecue top. Let's try this one. And I'm like, this is the same job with the wall. It's like, oh my God. This is a lot of, that's just, it's the hardest way in the world there is to make a living, period.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You need to know counter height.
Yeah.
I've never
thought about that.
Counter height's 36 inches. Like, what's bar stool height? You need to know that too. That's bullshit. I also need to know how much weight I can put in a triaxle, all in the same brain.
Right.
All in the same brain.
What's the legal deep end for a pool? Like, can you have a diving board? Like, I need to know how much a crane can lift over the house. Like, it's the amount of stuff that has to be, it's crazy. This episode should be called The Hardest Way to Make a Living Ever.
That makes sense.
It's I don't know, this year we have so many things. I am deeply invested in barbecue tops this season. If you need 1/3 pieces of barbecue tops, give me a call. They're all on top because I feel bad throwing them away, so they're on a skid on top of the sea can.
that you paid a store.
Last year, we were building this 3 waterfall into a pool, and we put natural stone tops on them. And there was 3 of them, so we did 2, and the third one was coming off the truck, and the one guy says to me, "That one's a different color. We should not cut that and put it on." And it was like the last day of the job, and I was frustrated, and there was no more of these things at the supplier. And I was like, "It looked great, man. It looks sick. Cut it, put it on." And they're like, "I don't think we should do this, Mike." I'm like, "Cut it, put it on. I don't want to talk about it again." They're like, "Okay." So they cut it, they put it on. Whole job's done. Client walks out. We're all there, right? It's the last day. She walks out and she goes, "I don't like that piece of stone." And they all go, "We told you, Mike." I'm like, and it's legitimate. It's totally different color. As soon as they put it on, I was like, "Oh, this is good." So that piece of stone is also on top of my sea can. If you ever need an off-color piece of 1 to 2 foot by 4 foot pieces, like natural stuff. Well, that's it. Like, there's another thing. Like, you need to know when your pavers were made and what dye lot they came from,
Right.
and what kind of sand was used to make them, and what factory they came from. Because pavers that are made in Gormley don't look like pavers that were made in Pickering, even though they're the same fucking color and the same flavor. Like, that's that. Like, that even, like, needing to know that is insane. Like, how 7 million different wall systems work. Like, the whole paver color thing, I get why. I mean, I worked at a manufacturer. I can tell you exactly why it happens. Okay, but it's still crazy. Like, as a landscaper, you're tracking like QR codes. Like, where's the skid come from? Well, the skid doesn't have the same QR code, man. Get it out of here. Just put it on the truck and ship it back. Like, I remember we used to have like binders at, like, I was running Acreage with every QR code of every bundle we had used for every season.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Because if we needed to match it later, or one of them
Yeah.
cracked, you could get fucked. So we'd be able to pull out the QR codes and be like, okay, like, this came from this plant on this day. You have that's how in depth it got. Like, that was from one particular manufacturer when I finally was like, okay, we're not using this anymore. Like, I can't make any money. I'm collecting QR codes in a binder. like they're trading cards. But it's July. What am I doing here? Like, anyways.
By the same token, we will have clients like 4 or 5 years ago. Do you remember what sand you put in our patio? We need another bag of that. Like, no, I don't remember what sand I used 4 years ago, what brand or whatever. Put whatever you want. It's going to turn black in a year anyway. It all turns black. It really doesn't matter like you think it matters. It all turns black.
It all gets really black.
It all turns black. Then my patio turned black. Like, my patio, the sand was brown and now it's black and it's 4 years old. So
I said that to a client. I was sweeping in the sand and they say, "Oh, I thought sand was beige. I always like when I go to a beach, the sand is beige, so I thought it was gonna be beige, and it was gray." They say, in a couple of years it'll be black anyways.
Yeah.
We actually, I was having an active debate with the guys about switching to only using like that jointing compound, not buying sand ever for residential, like not a commercial.
Right.
Residentially, never purchasing sand again. I'm done. I'm so done with it. And that as long as the joints are wide enough, that stuff goes in.
Right.
And the water leaches through it, so you don't get ponding or puddling, and no one calls you like 2 years later.
Yes.
Hey, there's a time like it just. We did a pool deck with it. We made it perfect. Like, I literally was having a conversation. I'm like, I don't care if this stuff's $100 a pail.
Yeah, I will never use regular poly sand on a pool deck anymore. Like, I'm not pitching my pool decks anymore. They're all level. If you don't want to pay for the sand, I don't want to do, or the polymer, I don't want to do the job.
Yeah. Like the jointing compound?
Yeah. The stuff, the wet stuff there that you put in or whatever. Like whatever lets the water pass through.
We used a slab. Well, it was Bestway Balsam. Maybe Bestway will sponsor this. Bestway Balsam. We were using the slab. It was beautiful. It has unique undulations in every piece. Anyways, we were using it, and the joint was too small for that sand, so we literally put tile spacers on.
Yeah, we did that.
Oh, yeah.
We've done that.
Just to push it apart enough to get that sand in, because I'm so done with sand. And that sand, I haven't had any knock on wood. I'm sure tomorrow someone will fucking call me.
Someone's gonna call you.
Like it's a we literally had like a meeting, and I was like, yo guys, like, are you cool with this? Because I for what sand costs versus the total cost of the project and how much damage it can do to your reputation and repairs and stuff. Like, if regular sand is $500 for your project and this jointing compound is $1,500, I don't think $1,000 is going to give or take on my project. Like, on a project that size, we need $500 worth of sand. Like, it just, and I don't think it installs slow, but you don't have to keep continuing pumping it over and over and over. there's a strange phenomenon last year where people are like, I tamped my patio 7 times before I watered it. And then the next guy on Instagram is like, yeah, motherfucker, I tamped 10 times. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like there was literally, I don't know if you guys saw that, but
I didn't.
I didn't see that.
there was a whole bunch of these guys. And I tamped 5 times, man. 5 times. The next guy's like, I tamped 7 times. 7 times around this. Look at how long it took. And I'm like, wow, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm good.
I don't want to play this sand game and all the callbacks.
You can make an argument like you need a $4,000 roller compactor now.
Which is
Yeah.
pretty sweet. Like if you guys don't have one, like I love my roller compactor, but
we don't have one.
have it like
I
it's
don't have one.
it's faster than that mat packer that's shimming and everything, and it doesn't break those monster tiles that everyone's doing right now, like those 4x3, whatever size they want to make them bigger than anything else. It's really gentle on those. Like our old mat compactor would just shimmy and shake around and break everything, and your little cuts, they'd break that and all that, and all of a sudden you're spending an hour recutting little pieces to go in the edges of your patio or something like that. Like it's very gentle, but I mean it's another $4,000 packer that you need when you have 6 other packers doing 6 other things,
I
right?
went through the list of the hardest way in the world to make a living.
Yeah.
You need a $4,000 item
Right.
to install sand.
Sand.
To do just one thing.
If you randomly walked up to someone on the street and were doing an interview and said, I bought a $4,000 machine just to install sand, they would be like, you're an idiot, and gonna walk away.
But this is normal now in our industry. You got to have that packer, right?
It's almost embarrassing that we don't have one.
Yeah.
Like it's like what I mean. We can borrow one or rent one or like.
Yeah.
Like, and I would only buy the smaller one because we'd be using it residentially, and the big one, like Joseph has one of the big ones, like the biggest one. And
It's so heavy.
Yeah, we're like loading the thing with one skid steer. Like I don't know, like 2 of us can't pick this up. Like,
Yeah.
Did you
We've
have
got the small one. Yes.
You have the small one?
I got the small one because we can't manhandle the big one around without a machine, right?
Yeah.
It's just way heavier than you'd think it would be for a machine with no steel plate on the bottom.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It was like the first time I touched it, I was like, this thing is ridiculous. Maybe that's why it works so well. Could be.
Maybe.
I guess, not having a roller compactor or a wrist twisting bucket, I'm basically an embarrassment to society. You have both those things.
But if that's what Instagram makes you think, right? Like if you don't have these nice things, how are you so popular without all these toys? Like
Me?
yeah.
I don't know that I'm so popular, but I did make a time lapse video this week of me eating a bagel.
I saw that. That was good.
It sounds like if I see one more twisting fucking time lapse, because they make me sick. I'm like, oh my god, like they're cool. They are sick. Like I am not. Like I think they're awesome and sick. I just I don't have one, so it's like
I'll buy that newsletter every day. Like I love my steel wrist twist bucket. Like I won't own another shovel without them, like, and I'll watch these videos and just drool, right? Like this is so awesome. Like can't wait till I can do that, and can't wait till my guys can do that. But no, that's an essential for me. Like if I'm gonna be a nerd about something, it's those twisty buckets.
I called. I said I need a twisty bucket for the E20.
Oh,
great. They're like, it's 37 grand. Except the machine was 37 grand.
Yeah, the price starts at that like low end, but after that it goes up in scales. But like that's the bottom end is like 30 some K to start.
We just don't have an excavator big enough. Like I would probably have one, but the biggest excavator I physically own is an E20.
Yeah,
and we would like residentially, it's the biggest machine we would need for the where we work physically.
Yeah, you guys have all those tiny lots, right? Where you have 3 feet in between homes to work in.
And we got to take the roof off it next week to get it. If we had a 4-ton, it wouldn't. it wouldn't go anywhere. We wouldn't use it. Like it would sit in the yard and twist away. It would look cool twisting in the yard, I guess.
Twist away in the yard.
Just twist away in the yard.
Twist away at the yard makes the time lapse video. Like I think they're sick. Like Joseph has a 25-ton Cat Zero Swing 325D or whatever it is, and it has a rototilt on it. I mean, it's sick. It's like 25-ton excavator that, like, it's awesome. It's the coolest thing. But I'm like, the problem for us is like the residential jobs, we only need the 2-ton excavator. Like, we just couldn't get a bigger one in. And if we could, I could borrow one off a buddy, or I got lots of buddies with them. We do it maybe once a year. And then on the commercial jobs, like, if we need a big excavator, like, I just, like, you know, Joseph has 17 of them. So
Yeah.
like, why am I going to buy one? Like, he has 17, so just go get one of his. Like, it just does. It's like so it just I've always like I was really really close to buying a 12-ton last year, and then Kelly shut it down really fast. So I thought it was sick.
That's a good size. That we could.
Velcro, and it still had rubber track. Like, it had rubber pads screwed onto the metal.
Yeah.
So you could still get around. But again, like, then this year, I'm glad we didn't go because it would just sat in the yard looking cool.
Twisting away.
Listen away, dude.
Twisting away in the yard.
But in terms of making, like you also have to have a deep understanding of financing. Deep understanding of financing and how things get financed. Like, it's crazy. Like because you do it every day, you know, the average person running a business doesn't, like, it just, even like all the spreadsheets and calculating profit, and like I'm sure that happens in other businesses too, but it's just another layer of things you need to know.
Right.
I'm lucky. I don't even know how to get into our bank account. I have no idea. Like, I don't know. It doesn't affect my life. Kelly does it. I fucking love it. Like, great. I don't even know how to do it.
When you started the business, Mike, was Kelly in on it with you, like, from the start, or did that come later?
Her dream was to run an office of a landscaping company.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, since she was a little girl. Since she was like the smallest of little girls, she just stared at the sky and said, "Man, one day I will run the office of a landscaping company and trucking and get
Dream fulfilled.
10,000 tickets a day from every bin we drop off and process it." She wasn't like, it wasn't. And then it got bigger, and she felt bad for me, and she started helping, and then it got bigger, and she was running her own business at the time, and she was like, okay, like, I have no time for my own stuff. So and now I think she really likes her 2500 ET4. That much I can tell you. She's a big fan of that. Lifted, I don't know if you guys saw it online, but she drives like a 2020 lifted AT4 with like 35-inch tires and fancy rims and the whole bunch. So she's a big fan of that. But
Gotcha.
no, she was not part of it at the start. It was just me. But then she went and like totally fucked that up. So she was like, before we lose the house, I better step in. Taylor King pro tip: make sure that someone that knows what the is going on with the finances with that shit. Like, I'm popular because I give out a wealth of knowledge, Jim.
Yeah.
It's the value.
The value, which I offer none of. I am just nothing. I'm just trying to, like,
so
I have nothing to offer but hard work. What's that?
I saw you hydro seeding today.
Yeah.
And like, you still think it's going to take? I'm just wondering, or are you doing that because you're commercially obligated to do it? I'm just wondering.
So we do it because within 7 days after topsoiling a site, you have to have ground coverage of, like, seeded ground coverage, right? If you don't, then there's more likelihood of weeds and all this shit. And it's mid-July. I don't know if you've ever grass seeded around someone's patio or someone's lawn in mid-July. It doesn't fucking grow in mid-July unless you've got a lot of water. It's a wet season or whatever. So we're doing this knowing that we're going to have to take the water truck out there and water grass seed, and it's only to fulfill our contractual obligation on the job. Right.
That's what I felt like. So I felt like that when I saw you doing it today. I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's a contractual obligation because
Yeah.
that doesn't seem like good timing.
I mean, it's gonna grow, right? Like it's just not gonna grow right now.
Yeah.
Once we hit like second week of August, it's gonna shoot up. But until then, I'm gonna have to deal with, well, the grass isn't really coming in yet, and do you think you could water it some more, and all the shit you have to deal with as a contractor, just to save face.
What percentage of your business is commercial?
80, I'd say right now. I'd like to think it's 80. It for sure eats up at least 80% of our time. And we're trying to throw in like the odd residential one once a week or something, like a 2-day, send some guys out, knock out an entranceway or something like that, just because it helps with cash flow, especially because we haven't seen almost anything from any commercial job all year, and it's July now. So I'm not complaining. It is what it is. We'll get paid, but it's tough, especially being a small, big landscape contractor, right? Like there's tons of companies that do this, but they're 60 guys deep, and we're 6 guys deep or 12 guys deep, and so we've got our own set of problems for playing with the big guys.
I was wondering how many guys you had. Just out of just
Right
watching,
now, there's
watching
7.
all the work you're doing and just watching how much you're getting. I was like, wonder how many guys he has.
There's 7 of us right now, but one's semi-retired, so he'll come and run the water truck and stuff like that. Water trees, plant trees with us. He's 65. He's the oldest guy that we've got, but he's you can't keep those old men down, right? Like they don't want to stop working. They're like, yeah, sure, I'll help you for a week or whatever. But no, we do a lot of work with a small amount of guys. Like I don't like. I'll go out to some of these other commercial jobs and see like they'll have 5 guys waiting with rakes, waiting for the guy with the skid steer to come and dump his bucket of topsoil, and then they'll rake it and wait around again for the next bucket of topsoil, for someone to dump the bucket of topsoil, and they'll rake it and wait. And that's what we used to do 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whenever I worked for another landscape company. There's just so many easier ways to do things now that we can do the work of 12 guys with 6 guys.
Yeah.
By having things like our spinny bucket and Harley rake and all this shit, right?
The spinning bucket definitely eliminates at least.
Spinny bucket. Although some of the big guys are getting on the spinny buckets, they're like Tomlinson and Kavanaugh, and see all these guys spinning out in the field.
Why did you buy Steel Wrist?
My buddy Alan Shade, he owns a small, about my size construction company in Ottawa. He recommended Steel Wrist, and our service, McKinnon Field Service, they're out your way, Brampton or something like that. They've been awesome. They're really good to deal with. Like they've came and installed my grapple like overnight at like 2 a.m. because I needed the shovel the next day with the grapple and I couldn't take it off site. So they were there with like headlamps and shit in the middle of the night in Morrisburg, which is a tiny town not too far from me, and they just got it done right there.
Well, guys, is that a podcast?
Sure.
I don't know. Sure. It's
At some point, we need to do like a introduction, like
yeah.